How many of your customers do you, as the dealer or senior manager at your dealership, actually talk to in a meaningful way? In this episode, we're going to talk about the importance of knowing your customers and some surprising insights that you can gain from talking to your customers. Stay tuned, a lot to talk about in this episode of Down Payment.
Welcome to Down Payment, the podcast for used car dealers. Prepare to learn something new about the industry that keeps us moving.
Check out all our podcast content on our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X. Welcome back. So dealers, senior managers, and everyone working at a dealership, if you are in a senior role, I have a question for you. Do you talk to your customers? Now, for dealers, there's kind of two schools of thought when it comes to talking to customers. There are some problems with being the person at the top of the dealership hierarchy and talking to your customers directly. But there's also some benefits to it. So you're going to see kind of two schools of thought when it comes to talking to customers. You have some dealers that talk to customers basically every day and a lot of interaction with customers. They know their customers on a personal basis, sometimes real close connections with a large percentage of their customers. And then you have other dealers that try to really avoid the customer interaction, at least directly face-to-face head-on. Now, problems with talking to customers directly when you are in a senior role. There is this tendency for the customer to then want to circumvent your entire operation, your sales department, your BDC department, your customer service people, your managers, and want to discuss all aspects of the deal, problems with the deal, anything after the deal, directly with you as the dealer principal or the senior manager. And that can be tricky and challenging and annoying and difficult to deal with. But on some level, it is important to have some interaction with your customers. You need to know your customers and you need to like your customers. One of the things I say, if you don't like your customers, you do not belong in this business. You are not going to do well long term. You need to be able to relate to your customers because your strategic decision making with your business really hinges on you understanding your customers. To paraphrase a Sun Tzu quote, if you know your customers and you know yourself, you need not fear 100 years in the car business. And I think it's so important to have a good understanding of both your operation and how it interacts with your customers in order to succeed in this business. We are inherently a people-intensive business. And providing a good sales experience is the cornerstone of the value that we drive to our customers. You have to have some degree of interaction and conversation with your customers on an ongoing basis. And one thing you don't have to do is reveal who you are. I see so many dealers that introducing themselves to the customer will introduce themselves as, the dealer, that, I'm the owner here, I'm the dealer. And that's not necessary. And in some ways, that's not helpful or productive. The low-key approach, where you might be recognizable from your advertising and your commercials, but the low-key approach can be the best approach. Don't reveal yourself as anyone but just another employee that's working there, and talk to customers. Have those face-to-face interactions. And the most important customers for you to talk to are the ones that are least likely to talk to you. These are the people that are the shyest and quite literally most afraid of the dealership experience. You're going to be surprised how many customers in our market are afraid of dealerships. They're afraid of dealership personnel, they're afraid of salespeople, and they are going to be absolutely terrified of the dealer themselves. There is a shocking amount of anxiety in our customer population. And we need to understand it and we need to address it. This is one of the biggest paradigms in automotive marketing, sales, business development for us to consider with our stores. You need to have the ability to understand and reduce your customers' anxiety. We are in an age where there is a lot of anxiety just awash in the marketplace and awash in our society. But it really becomes palpable for so many people in the car buying experience. And they have so many expectations of that relationship going poorly, being taken advantage of, and it creates a very high anxiety sales experience. And then we talk about how we have, the best sales experience of anyone in any store anywhere, and yet we don't actually understand what drives our customers' fear. Have those conversations, talk respectfully with your customers, meet them on the level that they're at. That low-key interaction between you at the top of the operation and your customers is such an important insight. You want to have that interaction. Now, when we talk about understanding their anxiety and then reducing their anxiety, taking meaningful steps to make our customers more comfortable and less anxious about the sales experience, what does that look like? Well, there are certain things that we can really adopt in this industry that is going to make a huge improvement to our customers' experience. The first one, and we've talked about it before, is a value-based sales experience. Value-based sales, where the paradigm, the philosophy is we are trying to, in the sales experience, drive value to the customer through information, meeting them where they're at, identifying their concerns and worries, and responding with something that addresses them in a meaningful way. And so we're not trying to do cheap, deal with objection type sales strategies, but we're really trying to develop a hyper custom strategy to address what our customer is trying to tell us that they need from us. And the other thing that comes with that is radical transparency. The more transparent, the more forthcoming that you can be in that sales experience to your customer, the more comfortable, the higher trust you're going to develop in that sales journey. So, for example, I give the situation of a customer is worried about being taken advantage of and paying too much. Well, first of all, we should be quoting prices upfront, transparently. Don't make your customer have to really work hard to get the price out of you. That is old school sales strategy. That worked 20 years ago. That is not a good strategy nowadays. You need to be forthcoming with the price. And then if the customer is concerned about overpaying, if they're concerned about being taken advantage of, that's where you can have the experience of sitting down with the customer, logging in and booking out the car right there in front of them so they can see with whatever appraisal guide you're using how that car books out. That's an example of radical transparency. So they can see, okay, on the dealer's appraisal system, this is how it books out. And they are, retail is $29,500. They're selling it to me for $30,000, so that they could see on the appraisal guide that, it books out for $29,500 retail, and sale price on it is $30,000. So they're selling it for only $500 over book, or it's $500 under book, or whatever. That type of transparency and being forthcoming. And if you are coming in above book, having an explanation of why this comes in over book. It's got features that aren't considered by book. This is a tight market and we can't keep these on the lot. I had to pay more wholesale for this vehicle. But being transparent, even when you're coming in over book, is super valuable to providing that transparency that builds trust. If you can do that, you are going to have a lot of success in this industry. You're going to go a long ways to addressing your customers' anxiety, and you are going to be a standout with your customers. With that, I would love to hear your ideas as far as understanding and getting to know your customers and then dealing with their anxieties and concerns. So leave your comments. And with that, go sell some cars. It's been another episode of Down Payment. Check out our podcast on all our social media channels. We are at Down Payment Podcast on YouTube, Down Payment Podcast on Instagram, and Down Payment Pod on X.
Thank you for listening. Down Payment, The podcast for used car dealers is a production of Meta Financial Services Incorporated.